think he got a snowblower then. It was after I moved that he actually got them. I'm like, oh, where is that the last 9 years? That would have been nice. Save me a bit of time. So guys, we have less than a minute, so we got our pre-show stretches, because this is the last time I get to stretch before going into a giant monologue. So if you guys are at home
my
and
back
you're
already
wondering
hurts.
what I'm doing, we got to do some stretches beforehand, because I get to talk for quite a while and I do not get a break. So this is my one time, and it's always fun because I get to talk to my parents after the show, and they're like, oh, I always love when you do your pre-show stretches. It makes me laugh every time. Make sure this is on.
Yeah, do the eyebrow a little bit. There,
Exactly
there you go.
right.
Right there you go. You need to do the...
On tonight's Cruise Week TV, we take a look towards the West Coast and look at the ports and places you can visit. Our guest, the very lovely Sheri from Cruise Tips TV, is joining us tonight with the latest cruise news. Shally is here, and we'll be covering the different types of cabins, and I have the science behind hot sauce that you can buy from many of the Caribbean islands. Lucas and Chris, the Flying Scotsman, give you another peek behind the crew doors on the ships, and we have our ever-popular photo of the week. All this and much more, so stay tuned for another episode of Cruise Week TV Live. Our show this week is brought to you by the folks at Good Memories Travel and by VMAX. Welcome back, everyone, and if this is your first time here, welcome to the show. I am Matt, your host and newbie cruiser. Together we explore all cruise-related subjects, picking up tips and tricks along the way by talking to the experts so that we can all make our next cruise even better. In the past year, we have covered many of the eastern cruise ports and destinations, so tonight we turn our attention to the West Coast and take a look at what they offer for cruisers over there. Since we're based in Tampa, Florida, and most of our cruises are to the East Coast, we want to bring in someone who's kind of an expert on the subject. Sheri from Cruise Tips TV, who happens to live out there, is going to be helping us out. Welcome to the show, Sheri.
Thank you, Matt. It's great to be back.
It's always nice to have you on. So you are living in California currently, right?
Correct.
So what's out there? When I think of cruise destinations, I think of either European cruises or mainly cruises around Florida to the Caribbean. When I think of West Coast cruises, there's not really island destinations that are easily around there. The Pacific seems a bit cooler, and there's not a huge amount of warmth kind of at all year round like you would normally get in the Caribbean islands. So what are some different ports that are the main attractions for West Coast cruisers?
Sure, definitely. Well, you can break it down probably into 3 or 4. So the main attractions out here on the entire West Coast. So we're going to talk about stretching from San Diego, the very southern end of California, all the way up to, let's say, maybe Vancouver or even Alaska. So here in California, the main destination would be the Mexican Riviera, and most of the major cruise lines run 7 to 10 night Mexican Riviera trips down there. So those are mostly in the winter and spring months, with the exception of Carnival, who runs year round on Carnival Splendor, which just left Tampa and came over here actually. And so those cruises are going to visit Cabo San Lucas, Puerto Vallarta, and Mazatlan mainly, with some of them stopping in Ensenada. Ensenada is just a little city that's about 90 miles south of San Diego, so it's not really known to be a fun port. It's kind of like the Nassau of the West Coast, if you know what I mean. So probably, though, the most popular cruises that run out of the West Coast would be cruises to Alaska from Seattle. So you can take your cruises to Alaska from Seattle, or you can take them from Vancouver, Canada, or you can actually jump on a ship in San Francisco and take a 10-nighter up to Alaska, or a 14-night from LA to Alaska. So there's a little bit more than people think. And then, of course, you have Hawaiian Island cruises out here. So you can do a 15-night round trip run from LA or San Diego with 5 sea days on either side and 5 days in the islands, or you can do the weekender cruises. And the weekender cruises are on those old funky fantasy class ships from Carnival, so Inspiration and Elation, which have been really beautifully overhauled, but they have 3 and 4 nighters that go to Catalina Island and Ensenada, and they're actually a lot of fun. And those are year round as well. So I think we covered all of them. That's kind of the high level overview.
So if you were, let's say, middle of the United States and you had a decision to make between going to California and Florida in the summer for different cruises, would you say that California usually has a lot of different options with going to Alaska and kind of enjoying the nice weather up there? Or do you think it's better to go down to Florida and kind of melt a little bit during the summer months? Like, which one do you think would be better to go to in the summer?
Yeah, that's a great question. In the summertime, that's a little bit tricky because not as many Mexican Riviera trips run from California in the summertime. So you probably want to jump up to Seattle and go to Alaska in the summer. If you were in the middle, if you're in the Midwest, or if you're considered sort of on the western side of the United States, it might be quicker to come out here and cheaper airfare wise if you're anywhere from Texas over to the west. Otherwise, you probably would want to go to the Caribbean unless you're opposed to the muggy weather and the risk of hurricanes later in the season, of course, but summertime's a little tricky.
That's actually a good topic. So a lot of the Caribbean islands, they are very affected by hurricanes, tropical storms, and just weather in general. It can be pretty hectic down there with the coastal winds coming from Africa and just kind of bombarding with different hurricanes and everything like that. And we always see in the news, and we've talked about, a majority of the ports kind of get destroyed every, I would say, maybe 5 years or so. They kind of have to rebuild almost. With the West Coast, though, there's not a huge amount of hurricanes because the Pacific is much colder. However, one of the issues, though, I would imagine might be earthquakes, or what are some disadvantages for weather or environmental issues that you might have to keep an eye out for while on the West Coast?
That's a great question, and you're absolutely right. It is way less frequent, but we have had a couple of really severe tropical storms out here. And hurricane force, they don't usually get that intense, but there was one that did some pretty hardcore damage to Cabo just a few years ago, kind of more along the lines of a flooding event in that case, but some major wind damage. And there have been hurricane level destructions in places like Cancun, but of course we're not cruising there from the West Coast. That's more over on your side of things. Hurricanes, not so much. Earthquakes can happen. We just never know when. We'd have no warning, and it could be that, we go 50 years between major hurricanes. So it's hard to say. You will get some storm issues, though, in the Mexican Riviera. Alaska, places like that, not so much ever a concern. The worst thing is that you might get some rough seas up in Alaska every now and then if you had a bad storm, but that's not really a consideration up there. Here on the Pacific Ocean, going back and forth from LA or San Diego down to the Mexican Riviera, when you're coming back up the Pacific Ocean, the ship can experience a ton of movement. So people with motion sickness are a little bit more sensitive out here sometimes. There's a lot of rocking and rolling on the sea days.
Nice. That's good to know about. So with the temperatures, it can be pretty low in the winter time. You said right now you're in kind of the middle of California, and it's about 50s to 60s there. But if you're taking different cruises from more northern states like Washington, in the winter, what type of weather can you normally expect from leaving the ports, going to your different destinations, and kind of returning back? What type of clothes should you bring? Because when you're in Florida, it's pretty much warm clothes.
There aren't any winter ones that go out of the northern states in the winter time, just for that very reason. So what you'd be experiencing California departures at that time of year, most likely. So you'd be looking at San Francisco, LA, or San Diego, most likely as your departure. And you'd be looking at chilly sea days. So the first 2 days going and coming would be pretty cold. You would be, you'd be looking at maybe jeans and hoodies versus like resort wear. But I've been on a cruise or two out of Florida that'd been pretty chilly too, like surprisingly cold. But this is probably a step in the slightly more extreme direction, but you're not going to be needing like a parka and a beanie or anything like that. It's not that cold. It's not like you need your gloves. But if you're out on deck, you're going to be chilly. But then the reward is the reward is there in the middle of the cruise. You're going to have 3 or 4 good days of 90-degree weather, so that's good.
That's always true. So, focusing a bit more onto Hawaii. So, you mentioned earlier that they have 14-day trips, and that's round trip from Los Angeles to Hawaii. Now, with that 14 days, that's a lot of time to take a cruise, and a lot of the people who watch the show, they can't really take off that time. I know I can't take off 14 days.
That long when I could take 2 cruises for the same price, but I'm right there with you. You can actually fly from the West Coast or anywhere really out to the islands and do the 7-night Pride of America sailings, and they're really amazing. I've heard good things about them. I've never done them personally, but a lot of people really love the experience of taking that 6-hour flight from California to Oahu or wherever, and then getting out and being on the islands the whole time. You really, you don't have a big distance between the Hawaiian Islands, so there's a ton of port time, and people really groove on that.
So, with going to Hawaii or some of the other ports of call down there, what's kind of the best destination to go? In Florida, we have several different places that you can leave from. You have Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Tampa. Those are just the main ones I can think off the top of my head. You have a lot of different port and different options for, let's say, winter. I know you said some of them kind of shut down in the winter. So, what are some other options?
That's a great question. So in California, we've got our best cruises in the winter. It's north of us. Like if you were up in Seattle, that whole season to Alaska kind of shuts down. But California, that's our sweet spot. So we're running the Mexican Riviera and the Hawaiian Islands in the wintertime. So we're talking about departure ports of San Diego, Los Angeles, which is called San Pedro out here, Long Beach, which is also just LA. It's just 10 miles, and that's the Carnival terminal is all Long Beach. And then you have the option of, if you're in San Francisco, you have the option of cruising out of San Francisco. Now that takes extra sea days getting down to Mexico, so those are usually 10-nighters. But there's a lot of options for Mexican Riviera cruises out here, and a ton of ships and a ton of cruise lines run to Mexico out here. Lots of choices.
So it seems that with a lot of the West Coast cruises, there kind of seems like there's a lot of sea days versus actual days at some of the ports. With the Caribbean cruises, I know a couple that stay for a pretty long time. I think it's almost 12 hours. How long do you normally stay at these different destinations?
Shorten the Cabo San Lucas stay to something like 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., which really makes people mad because they're like, I want more time. So usually on a 7-night cruise, you get 3 port days and you have 3.5 sea days.
That's not too bad. That's kind of like an average Caribbean cruise here. So we have a question from Richard. He says, what cruise lines are usually going to Hawaii?
Okay, Richard, I have that pulled up for you. Let's check it out. Hello, by the way. You will be shocked to hear how many options there are for people cruising from this area out to Hawaii and how many different ports you can leave from. So you have Holland America, Crystal Cruises, Princess Cruises. Let's see, Carnival even runs a few. Royal Caribbean does a Trans-Pacific. Crystal Cruises does a 16-night Hawaiian sojourn. That sounds very fancy. There are just tons. I think that the most popular are Princess and Holland America. They even do cruises that go circle Hawaii from Seattle to Vancouver. You can do round trip Los Angeles. There's a lot of choices.
So with going to some of these different ports of call or different destinations that you leave from, in Florida, sometimes it's expensive to stay a night in Miami. So I know some people will stay the night at a town that's just a little bit over from it, so they can kind of save maybe a couple $100 on hotel or expenses of that nature. With Los Angeles and other different places in that, it seems very expensive to travel to get hotels and food. Are there different options that you would recommend to save a little bit of money?
Yeah, for sure. With a little bit of research, if you jump onto TripAdvisor, you can usually find suburban or kind of neighboring areas that aren't so expensive, like not right by the port. Because you're right, San Diego and San Francisco and LA are pretty expensive, but there are definitely good options. A lot of people will do something where they get a package. Since you're flying out here and you don't necessarily have your car, you could always do like a snooze and cruise package where they include a shuttle. So there's some pretty reasonable ones. In fact, you could probably find pre-cruise hotels out here for as low as like $120 a night within a few miles of the port that aren't too shabby. Just take some research, and obviously if your pre-cruise stay is on a Friday night, that can make it kind of tricky. But there are definitely options. I guess if you expand your radius to about maybe 5 miles or so and get on TripAdvisor, you'll find lots of options.
Now, with going to these destinations beforehand, Bert and myself went to Louisiana, and we had a really nice time at that port. We stayed there for a night before and an extra night after the cruise is over, and we got to explore the city and really take in the culture, experiences the food and the hot sauce, of course, which we'll be talking a little bit later on in the show.
Yeah,
What is
I
there
love
to
it.
do at some of these other different destinations, kind of before or after your cruise?
That's a fun one. There's a ton to do. So if you're arriving into the port of San Diego, you could always hit the San Diego Zoo or SeaWorld or go to the beach. There's tons to do in San Diego. If you're coming into Los Angeles or San Pedro, Long Beach, that area to take a cruise to the Mexican Riviera, you could always hit Disneyland. There's Knott's Berry Farm. There's all of the amusement parks out here. Universal Studios is a big one. That's a unique, awesome kind of Hollywood experience for people who want it. And then just dozens upon dozens of things to do along the coast. Even Long Beach is a wonderful little city. If you're doing a Carnival cruise out of this area, the harbor in Long Beach is beautiful. You can go visit the historic Queen Mary. You can even stay there. It's actually adjacent to and on the same property as Carnival's cruise terminal. So Queen Mary is awesome, super popular. If you're in San Francisco, I mean, there's amazing stuff to do in San Francisco, just tons that you could do. You could go to Fisherman's Wharf, walk the Embarcadero. You could go out and check out the jail, Alcatraz. There's so many fun things to do. So you got to come in early, at least a day, probably more would be worth it. Seattle, of course, if you're up on that coast before an Alaska cruise, a couple of days beforehand in Seattle is amazing. Seattle's a foodie's dream. And of course you have all the touristy stuff like the Space Needle, but tons to do.
Nice. I would absolutely love to just kind of explore around these different places. I always advocate people to spend an extra day before and after, or maybe even a couple, just because you're normally going to be departing from a major city of these places, and they usually have so much different culture, cuisine, and just, you're probably not going to go to a lot of these places a ton of time in your lifetime. So it's nice to just kind of explore beforehand. So
yeah, exactly.
Before we were into the show, you mentioned that Long Beach actually got a pretty big renovation. Can you kind of go over what it was before and then what they did to make it a bit better now?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool. So Carnival operates out of this giant geodesic dome in Long Beach. It's like this wild half globe shaped terminal. It's really unique looking. But what happened in the last few years is that Carnival and the city of Long Beach put a bunch of money into it. And that cruise terminal went from being a little 60,000 square foot terminal to occupying the entire facility and being like 140,000 square feet. So it can handle bigger ships. They're sending us the Splendor from Tampa. Thank you very much. I don't know how much bigger that is. I mean, we're only talking about like a 3,000 passenger ship here. We're not talking about Oasis of the Seas. And nobody really knows what size of ship that terminal can handle, but it's bigger. We know that there are options now. So it's pretty exciting stuff. That big dome, a little trivia here for those of you who are Howard Hughes fans, it used to house the Spruce Goose, that giant aircraft, Howard Hughes' Spruce Goose. And so that is no longer the case, and there's a lot more space there now. So it's pretty exciting, and it means that they can have ships coming and going on the same day. So the way it is right now, you couldn't have Carnival Inspiration and Imagination like coming and going on a Saturday. You'd have to have the Imagination come in on Saturday, and the Inspiration would have to come in on Sunday. Well, now they can collide at the same time and accommodate all the passengers. So we're pretty stoked out here.
Nice. That seems like you've been kind of making a lot of different updates on the whole coast and really having quite a bit more ships kind of come in and out. I think Tampa recently got a couple new ships and have been renovating the port to become a little bit bigger. I'll definitely have to ask Shelly later on in this segment. We had a slight issue with the feed, but we got it back, so I'm actually going to be getting some questions to you now. This one comes from Eric B. He says, I've never been on a cruise from the West Coast. What, in your opinion, where is, in your opinion, the best port to leave from?
Hey, Eric, if you've never done the West Coast before and you're looking for something different, I'd probably start with Alaska. Alaska is the most different. You know, you're really going to get that experience. You're going to see a lot of wildlife. You're going to see just thousands and thousands of square miles of pine trees and eagles and whales and uninhabited beauty in the last frontier. So I would start with Alaska, Eric. Do it.
So with Alaska, when I'm thinking about ports and different places I want to visit, I think of, beaches, island destinations, tropical drinks, just kind of laying out, getting sun. Probably not able to do too much of that in Alaska. So what do you normally do at some of these stops there?
Right. Alaska is all about two things. It's all about gold rush history and it's all about the great outdoors. So your average trip to Alaska, you might go and take pictures in front of a glacier. You might go ice shoeing or hike on a glacier, take a helicopter to a glacier. You might go flight seeing over some fjords. You might go whale watching, or you might take a train up to the White Pass and hear all about the gold rush history. And it's fantastic. It's also really cool when you're in Alaska. The ports are really walkable. So you can get off the ship in Skagway and go have lunch and go to a chocolate shop. And you can go and watch the salmon run up a salmon ladder and go watch a lumberjack show all on foot. So Alaska is just a totally different experience. Most people, once they do it once, they're addicted. It's pretty cool. It's also expensive because we're talking about the fact that we're in United States territory, right? Like when we're in Mexico or Caribbean, you're able to get really good rates because you're not generally in the United States. I know that's not always the case. Sometimes we are, but it's pricey. And all of these tour providers are having to provide insurance, and that's very costly. So if you go zip lining in Alaska, it's going to cost you about twice as much as if you went zip lining, maybe let's just say in Jamaica or something like that, but it's worth it.
So, what type of clothes do you want to bring to Alaska? I know you said you can go on glaciers and kind of hiking through the woods. When I'm going down to Caribbean, I just have like mostly tank tops and sandals that always seem to break on me the first day that I'm there. So, what type of clothes and outfit should I normally bring if I was going to go to Alaska?
Okay, Matt, that is a really good question. And it's the biggest question we get. So we've made like 50 videos about it because it's like confounding. But you know what you start with? You start with what you're wearing right now. So you do some layers. You're talking like jeans, t-shirt, a flannel. And then on top of that, you would have a rain jacket or maybe like a warm, I don't know, what do you call those? Like a down jacket or something like that. It's pretty basic. And Alaska's actually more casual than people think. So they're always thinking, okay, it's going to be more formal. It's really not. You'll see people wearing jeans to dinner all the time in Alaska because they're transitioning more quickly from their shore day to their dinner, for example. So you just layer up. It's all about layers. Some people choose to take hats, scarves, and gloves. I was going to call them mittens. I don't know. But that kind of thing. If you're on a day when you're viewing a glacier from the ship and you're right next to a glacier, it's actually quite cold because you've just navigated through a glacial passage and it's chilly. But most people do okay with like jeans, a flannel, a hoodie, and a jacket, and you're good. And waterproof shoes. So like maybe take the sneakers to the next level and do like a nice waterproof boot, like a Sperry duck boot or something like that, which most people have never heard of.
So with that, I feel like a lot of the niceness of some of the sea days in Alaska is just leaving the ports and you get to really experience just kind of seeing a lot of different things at night and just kind of observing everything as you're leaving there. What would you kind of recommend? Are there specific sea days that are better than others for viewing different things there, or are they all kind of very similar to the last?
That is so true. It is so true. The old recommendation that you hear people giving about getting a balcony if you can in Alaska is super duper true. Unfortunately, they're double the price of an inside cabin usually because they are so popular. But let's just say you're leaving from Seattle. That first night leaving Seattle and passing through the beautiful Puget Sound, because Seattle isn't at the edge of the ocean. It's in this gorgeous sound dotted with islands and hilltops and so much scenery. It's all the time. It's any day that you're in the inside passage. It's any morning that you are waking up and pulling into a port. It's absolutely breathtaking and majestic, and you never know what you're going to see, including right off your balcony, whales, eagles, wildlife constantly.
I would absolutely love to just sit on the deck and just really enjoy that. Is it pretty windy during Alaska when you're coming back from some of these destinations, or is it pretty...
You know, it's so funny. I've had more windy cruises to the Mexican Riviera, windy and rough, than I have to Alaska. It can be very windy, cold, and rainy, but in general, it's pretty mild, but it could be misty for a whole week. So you could feel like you're like semi being rained on for 7 straight days. But it can also be sunny the whole time too. It's hit and miss.
I can't wait. I really would love to do an Alaska cruise. The Caribbean is really nice, but a lot of it's becoming rinse and repeat with some of the different islands that we go to.
Yes.
That's why I really like Belize, because we get to explore the jungle a little bit more, and that's something that some of the other islands don't really offer.
Yeah.
So you have your own show and you have your own different segments where you go over a huge amount of different videos. Where can people go to look up some more videos?
Sure. Our main site is on YouTube. So we're youtube.com/cruise tips TV and youtube.com/cruise gear, where we do little video reviews on all kinds of stuff related to cruising.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Sheri, so much for coming on the show. We really appreciated it.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Matt. It was great talking to you. And if you do ever plan that Alaska cruise, make sure to send me a DM and I'll hook you up with some tips.
I would absolutely love nothing more than that. Our photo of the week this week comes from a Carnival Sunshine Facebook group, and we picked this one from all of the other ones sent in. It features Sammy Cooper and her girlfriends on the Sunshine, all ready for a formal night. Remember, we pick a new Facebook group every week and ask people to send in their best photos, and we pick the best one to feature right here. I'm sure if you watched our show before, or, you kind of know about Good Memories Travel. When Debbie saw the hard work that we were putting in to bring you guys the cruise news and information to help others, she wanted to help and support us. Good Memories Travel is a full-service travel agency that offers you cash back and incentives that you won't get booking direct with cruise lines. Why would you pay more for less? It costs nothing to compare a price and to see the superior service and extras you get when you go through Good Memories Travel for your next cruise vacation. They cover all the cruise lines, and if you are a new cruiser, they can suggest the best ship to cruise and suit your different style. Give Debbie a call or visit their website today to see how much easier and cheaper it can be. Debbie can reach directly at 321-338-2953, and of course their website at goodmemoriestravel.com. And thanks for your support of CruiseWeekTV. Also, don't forget our group cruise on the Carnival Horizon. There's a $50 deposit running right now, so contact Debbie to take advantage of that $50 deposit sale. As a result of a new warning system put in place by the U.S. State Department, 5 of Mexico's 31 states are listed as do not travel areas. These include 3 with cruise ports, and Sinaloa, Guerrero, and Colima. However, many tourist areas including Portovala, Ensenada, Cabo, La Paz, Guadalajara, Cancun, Cozumel, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, and Riviera Maya, Chichen Itza, and Merida do not have travel warnings. No cruise lines have announced port changes because of this most recent advisory. On January 10, 2018, the U.S. State Department unveiled a new advisory system which makes travel recommendations by ranking locations on a scale of 1 to 4, with level 1 being exercise normal precaution to level 4 meaning do not travel. The State Department's overall advice for Mexico is level 2, exercise extreme caution. The country has suffered from increasing levels of violence associated with drug cartels and criminal organizations. Still, no U.S. citizen or cruise passengers have been targeted or directly affected by the violence. The state listed in the Do Not Travel warning is not new advice, said Kevin Brosenheim, a spokesperson for the State Department's Bureau of Consular Affairs, in an interview with the Cruise Critic. With the new system, all existing information has been converted to the new products, ensuring a consistent worldwide standard for information. Note that all 5 states in the previous system included languages about either prohibited travel or deferred non-essential travel. This replaces our previous system of travel warnings and alerts, for instead. Other Mexican states previously under travel advisories have also been reclassified using the new grading system. The level designation is the result of collected crime statistics and other information related to natural disasters, health, the current security situation, and other events according to him. The 4 travel advisory levels are 1, exercise extreme caution, 2, exercise increased caution, level 3, reconsider travel, and then 4, do not travel. Just remember that no cruise line will knowingly put its passengers and guests off a ship in an area they don't think it's safe for you to go on. As long as you listen to the port of advice, you're most likely going to be fine. Port Canaveral officials presented a 30-year plan to Port Authority that proposes to expand cruise ship capacity with up to 8 full-service terminals. This plan was approved by the Canaveral Port Authority Board of Commissioners by a 5-0 vote. It includes expansion and cost estimates for the port cruises, ship costs, spaceport, and recreation infrastructure. The port currently has 5 full-service cruise ship terminals, but the plan states cruise passenger traffic, which hits 4.5 million in 2017, could top 8 million passengers before 2040, with the rest coming from one-day passengers from both visiting cruise ships and the port's residents to casino cruises. The raising and recreation of Terminal 3 is already in the works, and that's the one targeting a 2019 opening. That is the current terminal for Port of Call ships visiting for the day. But when redone, we'll have customs and border control facilities adjacent to that of smaller Terminal 2, where the Victory Cruise gaming ship operates. That is the location targeted for the 2025 revamp. The potential 8th terminal's location has yet to be determined. It seems that cruise lines can't add ships fast enough these days. Shelley, welcome back. I hope your week has been super duper. So what have you got for us this show?
Hey, Matt. Actually, this week we're going to talk about all the different cabins available to you on your cruise. People pretty much think there's your standard interior, ocean view, balcony, and a suite, and they don't realize that there's all kinds of different cabins on your cruise to choose from within those categories. So that this week, that's what we're going to talk about. Fortunately, I've been blessed to be on a lot of these different ships and all these kind of different cabins. So I've highlighted the ones that I've actually been in so I can give a little bit more insight into the ones that I've been on. And there's some really cool cabins out there,
Nice.
Not just your standard cabins
Interior
that people
ones,
think
yeah.
are available. Yeah.
I think when people generally go on a cruise, they normally think of, okay, it's either interior, where I'm just surrounded by walls, versus, oh, I have a balcony or this giant room. And I've only been on 2 cruises myself, and both times was interior. Interior, I feel like, has kind of a bad rap with it, where people think, oh, that's like the cheap area, like you're trying to save a lot of money doing that. Usually some of the upgraded rooms are nicer, you have a little bit more legroom, I'm assuming, but interior, I never really felt claustrophobic or really enclosed too much. I mean, it was myself, Zach, and Bird with us in that cabin. 3 of us in one interior. We still had quite a lot of room.
I think most people look at it like this. There's 2 ways of thinking. I'm either never in my cabin, so why spend the extra money?
Exactly.
So I'm going with the cheapest cabin available. Or you enjoy being in your cabin to a certain extent. You enjoy being on your balcony, being able to sit out and have your morning coffee on your balcony and look at the sunrise or the sunset. So, it kind of depends on what kind of cruiser you are. It's just what I have here is a list of all the different kinds of cabins that you can get, depending on what kind of cruiser you want to be. Of course, the standard interior cabin with no windows, no nothing, just your cabin with your beds and your bathroom, your closets. That's the cheapest way to go, all the way up to your grand suites. So it just kind of depends on what kind of cruise you are, how much money you have to spend, where you are financially. A cruise can be super cheap or it can be super expensive. It really just depends on you and how much you want to spend and what your preference is for. Are you going to be in your cabin very much, or are you basically going to be on the ship, 22 of the 24 hours that you're on it? So we'll start with the interiors. So your interior cabin, basically a standard interior, no window. It's on the inside of the ship. It's not necessarily smaller, except I will say this. If you ever go on the Triumph, do not book cabin number 9208. I am telling you right now, that was a broom closet that they turned into a cabin. It was, when me and Dwayne got in that cabin, we were like, what is this? We had to, the bathroom door hit the end of the bed. Both of us couldn't walk in front of the beds at the same time. We had to go up against the wall and be like, excuse me. It was, I really, really, truly think that this was some sort of, not necessarily a crew cabin, but maybe a cabin for one, like for,
That's
say,
been like
the comedy
slightly
club was.
modified or renovated.
Right, like let's say
Mhm.
the comedy club guy, like it's just one person. That was the smallest cabin I've ever been in my life. And I've been on a lot of cruises. We were both just like, what is this? So anyway, remember 9208, it was an interior obstructed view, and I'll get into what that is. Do not book that cabin. It's this big. Unless you're just one person. I'm serious. So anyway, so in the interiors, you have an upper lower.
Okay.
That's your standard interior cabin with an upper bunk and a twin bed. This saves space, instead of putting two beds in there, you just have the one bed and then you have a bunk. So if you're somebody that may have trouble getting up and down into a bunk bed, that may not be the cabin for you. But if it's not a problem for you to crawl up and down into your bunk bed, go for it. It's cheap, and it's for sleeping and taking a shower and heading back out to the ship. Next is your standard interior. Your standard interior will come with two twin beds that will convert to a king bed if you would rather have a king. Your interior cabins are the most inexpensive cabins that you can get. The next is your interior upper lower with a porthole. Now, this is an interior cabin, and it's the same price as an interior, but you do have a way to look. You do have a window, which are two circular windows that is your portholes, and you can see those on the ship when you get on there. These little round windows that are at the forward of the ship. I will say in an interior, I mean, cost wise, yes, it's the cheapest one you can get. But I will tell you, it's like being in a cave. There is no light coming in. I remember one of the first cruises we went on, we got an interior. I didn't set an alarm. It was like 12:30 in the afternoon when I finally, I'm like, what time is it? There's no light, there's no sunshine to kind of peek in through the blinds and let you know that day has come. And I was like, you can't even see anything in here. And it was so dark, which is great if all you want to do is sleep on your cruise. But that's my personal opinion. I like to have a little something. And if you want to have a little window that you can see out of, if you're claustrophobic or you need to be able to know that there's more than just the walls, a porthole with an upper lower is the same price as an interior cabin, and you get the little porthole windows.
I mean, an even cheaper alternative, though, is having the TV on with one of the cameras on the side of the ship. Then it's like you have a window, but it's still the same price as an interior.
Oh, I can't sleep with the TV on that. I can't sleep with the TV on. I got to have my fan on and the quiet and the darkness. But I do like for the sun to peek through the thing a little bit, so you know that it's daylight. You know that the next day has arrived.
That's usually Bird waking up and then turning on all the lights. We have so much filming to do. Wake up! What are you doing?
Get up! Wake up! Yeah, that's got to be a nightmare. I can only imagine. So anyway, then the next is your regular porthole. Again, so this cabin is only slightly more than an interior cabin, but you do have two small circular windows, which are your porthole windows in your cabin. And it is considered an interior cabin, but it does have the two portholes. Then you have an interesting choice. This is your interior with a picture window. Now, this is considered a 4J obstructed view cabin. And what it means is you will have a window in your cabin, a regular window, just like you have a window in an ocean view cabin. But your view might be obstructed by lifeboats or look out of the observation deck. It's not going to look out onto the water. It's going to look onto a deck or onto the lifeboats or something that is what they consider obstructed view. It is tinted from the outside. So you will, if you don't realize that at first, it might freak you out. It's like, oh my God, there's people walking by here. I'm in my underwear. They can't see in the cab. You can see out of the window, but they can't see into the window.
At least that's what they tell you.
No, it's true. I went out and looked to make sure. I'm like, I'm going naked from the bathroom to my bed, which was on the Triumph only 2 inches. But
So
I've been in an upper lower, I've been in a standard interior, I've been in a regular porthole, and I have been in one of these interior with a picture window. They're all the way forward. You're at the very front of the ship. It's usually on the secret deck that everybody's talking about, usually like deck 9. That was deck 9208 that I had that one. But it was so weird because right next, okay, so the front of the ship, the way the design is of the ship, you got it goes like this. Well, there's these weird cabins up there that are shaped that they have to be constructed in a way that goes along with the lines of the ship. And we're in a broom closet right next door to us. Michelle and Keitha got a cabin that we could have put 20 people in there, but it was still the same price and the same category, picture window. But it because of the design of the ship, they have this huge bathroom and this long living space, and then there are 2 beds over here. I was so mad that they got that
are
cabin.
all the interiors the same size? It sounds like a lot of them are different from one another.
Most of them are going to be the same size, but like in the picture showing back behind there. So those cabins are at the very front of the ship. And because of the way the ship is designed, you're going to have several different cabins as you get higher up. I was on deck 9. They have to be constructed in a way that is with the ship's design. So you may have some odd cabin that you've never been in before. Most interiors are in the inside of the cabin. They all look exactly the same, but you'll get these weird little cabins at the at the very forward of the ship. You're like, this looks weird, but like I said, 9208, it's this big. The other, the one right next to us was gigantic. It was crazy, and they were all the same price.
So I know
I think
lot
the
of
one next was
cruisers.
9204.
I know a lot of cruisers usually travel with their families, and sometimes they bring on their kids, which could be below the ages of 3, which they might require a crib still. So let's say you have a couple, they want to sleep in a bed together. Twins too small, usually for 2 people, so they want to get a bigger bed. If they were going to want to put a crib in a room as well, would an interior accommodate enough room for their bed, plus the crib, and maybe one other kid, or would they want to upgrade to one of the ocean
all of
rooms?
the beds have the option of converting the 2 twin beds into a king bed. So you can make it one big bed, which actually kind of saves space because they can put it all off to the side, connect them together, and there's no empty space there. Or you can do the 2 twins. So there's plenty, as long as you put the beds into a king size situation, there would be plenty of room for that for sure.
Okay.
There's 2 more interiors. This is a very odd cabin. It's only on the Spirit class ships. It's called an interior with a French door, and that one is also considered an obstructed view, but it has these cool little French doors that close in front of your picture window that you can close and open. It's just an odd little, but they're only on the Spirit class ships. You won't find them on very many of the ships. And the next one is all of the cabins I'm talking about. You can get a Cloud 9 spa cabin, and they do have the Cloud 9 spa interior. Those are an additional cost, and that is basically a standard interior on the spa deck, and all Cloud 9 spa accommodations are included, and they feature private spa access, special amenities, and priority spa reservations. If you want to get now, I would only do that if you're on one of the ships that have the updated Cloud 9 spa, because on a lot of the ships, the spa is free. But the ones that have the Cloud 9 spa that's been upgraded, that has a Thalasso mineral pool and the heated thermal chairs and all the spa steam rooms and all of that, that's $250 a couple or $150 a person. So a spa cabin on one of the ships that has the updated Cloud9 spa, you will have access to the spa as part of your spa cabin.
No, that's
So the next,
250 for the whole entire cruise usually, or is that like a
yes.
day? Okay.
No. It's $250 for a couple, and you can go to the spa as much as you want, or it's $150 per person, and you can go as much as you want.
Drink
It's
card,
really,
spa. Oh, that's
I
a
know.
tricky one.
I know, but in all honesty, I'll say this. I've been in a Cloud9 spa balcony cabin before, and I'm not going to, I loved it. I really did. But there's so much other things to do on the cruise. I paid more for that cabin, but I really only went to the spa 2 or 3 times because, you know, it's not like you're just going to park yourself in the spa 24/7. So, my advice would be, unless you really feel like you're going to be in the spa a lot, I would just go, if you just want to experience it, you can buy a day pass to the spa and
Okay.
just go for 1 day, and then pay a lot less for your cabin and just go to the spa and enjoy it 1 day. I mean, we went 2 or 3 times, but that cabin was considerably more than other cabins. So I don't really feel like I got my money's worth, because it's not like I sat around in the spa. You know, I want to go party with my friends. I want to go to the Hairy Chest contest. I want to go to the comedy show. I want to do whatever. So, but anyway,
We actually
moving
have
on.
a
So the
question
next,
too. This one comes
okay.
in from Richard. He says, "Why are rooms priced higher after deck 6?"
Well, you know, I can't tell you for sure, other than it just, the higher up you get on the ship, the more desirable the cabins are, the closer you are to everything. Everything kind of starts on deck 5 on the promenade. So from deck 5 up, you know, especially, you know, got Lido on deck 5. On most of the ships, you've got all the bars and the clubs and the comedy club. I think they look at it like, the closer you are to the fun, the more it's going to cost you. So if you're down on deck 1, deck 2, deck 3, you know, if you don't want to take the elevators, you got a lot of walking to do. So I think it's just a more desirable location of the ship is why they cost more. That would be my best explanation for that. The next category of cabins would be your ocean view cabins. Your regular ocean view cabin is going to have a large window. It's going to, you know, face towards the ocean, and unlike your obstructive view cabin, you're going to actually have a view of the water and the ocean itself. I've had a regular ocean view. The deluxe ocean view with a picture window is what I described earlier. It will have a window in it, but it will be an obstructed view, lifeboats, a deck, something like that. I haven't been in one of those, but I have been in the regular deluxe ocean view. If you have a family, more than you and your husband, you and your wife, you and your partner, deluxe ocean view is awesome. I got this cabin on accident. I was upgraded because it cost the same. It was an accident. We get in there and we realize this cabin has 2 bathrooms. I mean, when you got a teenage son that takes an hour and a half to get ready to go to dinner, we had 2. They don't have 2 toilets, but they do have 2 separate bathrooms. And in one bathroom, you have a shower and a sink. And in the other bathroom, you have the shower, the sink, and the toilet. And if you have a family, it's really nice when you're getting ready for dinner for more than one, you know, everybody's got to take turns taking a shower. It's really nice. And the deluxe ocean view, because they do have the 2 bathrooms, because they are geared more towards a family. They can accommodate up to 5 people. So those are really nice. Now this cabin, I haven't been in one yet, but I have one booked for the 5th annual CCPPF Diva Cruise, and I'm so excited. I haven't booked one. I haven't stayed in one yet, but I am going to, I have seen one. I've spent time in several of them with some other ladies that went. This is your scenic ocean view. Your scenic ocean view cabin is all the way forward, and you have a window that goes from the your ceiling to the floor. and it's huge. And the view from your cabin, of course it doesn't open and you can't go outside, but it is the most spectacular view of the water. You can just sit there and you're just like, you just want to sit there and look at the ocean. It's beautiful. And this is called a scenic ocean view. Not all the ships have one. We're going on the Valor. We're going on the Valor on the next Diva cruise, and me and Dwayne have a scenic ocean view booked for our cabin. And if you're worried about like, oh my God, when the sun comes up, is the sun going to be shining in my cabin? It has this really cool little remote control blinds that you push the button and the blinds come down. When you go to bed, you can close the blinds so the sun isn't attacking you if you have a hangover. So the scenic ocean view, I can't wait. Like I said, I've been in several of them, but I haven't actually booked one. So we're going on the next Diva cruise.
That would definitely be nice to wake up to.
Oh, it's beautiful. And the view is just having morning coffee and just sitting there and just looking at, you can see forever out that window. It's beautiful. Your next category is going to be your balcony cabins. This is my favorite cabin. Even though I don't spend a lot of time in my cabin, I normally the cruises I go on are the big group cruises, and we're out doing activities, doing things, hanging out with our friends, partying, drinking. But I still love to have a balcony. There's nothing like sitting out on your balcony, in the morning or in the evening, or eat lunch or whatever you want to do, and just sitting outside in this salty sea air and just hearing the water and hearing the ocean.
We actually have a couple questions with the balconies.
Okay.
And this one comes from
Okay, go ahead.
Melissa Colby. She says, have you heard anything about the new balconies they added to the Elation? We booked one earlier on this year.
The Elation didn't, for a long time, didn't have any balcony cabins. And I've just recently heard about this, unfortunately, with the tragedy here this past week on the Elation with a death. They didn't used to have balconies on that ship, so I'm kind of new to the whole thing. I guess when the last time they went into dry dock, they must have constructed some balcony cabins. I always thought it was odd that the Elation didn't have any balcony cabins, but apparently now now they do. I'm assuming they're just your standard balcony cabin, but I honestly don't know a whole lot about the specifics of that, other than the fact that they do now have some balcony choices on the Elation. Was there another question before I get to the next category?
That was pretty much it for the balconies.
Okay, so the cheapest way to get a balcony, the most inexpensive balcony cabin you can get, is called a cove balcony. And the cove balconies are normally on the lower decks, and they are right on the water line. In fact, if it's a really rough sea day or very windy or something, they usually advise you not to go out on your balcony at some point, because you can be sitting there and actually feel the spray of the water on you because you're that close to the water. That is the most affordable way to have a balcony. They call them the cove balconies. Next is your standard balcony. It's just your cabin, and it has a standard balcony room. It's a standard balcony size, length and width, they're all the same. It's a nice sized cabin, and you have a balcony you can go out on and enjoy your coffee in the morning, have cocktail in the evening. No smoking on your balconies, people. You used to be able to do that, but you can't do it anymore. It can be up to a $250 fine if they catch you.
Are you able to vape? Because I know vaping and smoking have been a lot of different topics on some of the cruise lines where you're able to vape in the casino, just like you can smoke in the areas, but using some of the vapes around some other parts, like in the dining rooms or just even on the other areas, I'm not too knowledgeable.
The rule of thumb on the ship is that even though vaping, you do not smell it and it does not have a smoky smell or anything like that, the rule of thumb is you can only vape in the smoking designated areas on the ship, and that does include your balcony. Okay. Now, nobody's gonna smell it. I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm just saying, how are they gonna know?
Why does it smell like Fruit Loops?
Right. What is that blueberry smell I keep smelling? But what I'm saying is that, and it's not going to cause it. I mean, the main reason for not smoking on your balcony is for, fire hazard,
Well,
people
also the
flicking
smoke can
their
drift over to
cigarette.
other balconies and other
Yes.
areas
And
too,
people
which I
don't
can
want to
understand
smell
that.
that. So, I mean, the rule of thumb is you can only smoke or vape in the designated smoking areas on your ship. I'm not sure how anybody would know if you were vaping on your balcony and if they would really care if it smelled like Fruit Loops, but I'm just saying, I'm not saying to break any rules, people, okay? But I'm just saying, how would they know if you were
We actually
vaping?
have
But anyway,
another question about balconies. Richard asked, do they have
okay.
any handicap accessible balconies?
When you go to carnival.com, there's always an option to access. Do you need a handicap accessible cabin? It just depends on the ship and how many they have available. I believe all of the categories are going to have handicap accessible rooms or cabins, but it depends on the ship. So you would have to do that research on your own. When you log into Carnival and you do a book and you want to inquire about a booking, it'll ask you how many cabins do you need, how many people are in your cabin, and right below that will be a little box that you can check that says handicap accessible. And if
Okay.
you check that, it will give you all of the cabins that are available on the ship that are handicap accessible. So that's just going to be research that each person needs to do individually.
And Melissa Colby kind of piggybacks off of that, asking to discuss a little bit more about some of the accessible cabins and what they could offer that's a bit different from some of the others.
The difference with those cabins is the cabin doors are wider to allow wheelchair in and out. The bathrooms have the bars in the bathroom for using the restroom and also in the shower. So they're just generally more roomy to allow for people that do have a wheelchair or a scooter or something like that, the ability to move around in the cabin. There's a little more space. And then, of course, like I said, they have the in the restrooms and things, they have things for people to hold on to. Again, that's going to be research that each person is going to need to do individually to find out which cabins are available for that and what the amenities are that go with it. But generally, first and foremost, the doors are wider. Because in just a normal cabin, you might not even be able to get the wheelchair through the door because it's not wide enough. So every ship has accessible cabins, but each ship is going to vary on how many are available and which cabins and what decks are available and things like that. So, like I said, when you do a booking, it will ask you if you need one. Just check the little box. The only cabins that'll come up available are going to be the ones that are accessible for handicap. So, moving on with the balconies, let's see, what was our last one? The Cove balcony, then your standard balcony. The next is your Cloud 9 spa balcony. I mentioned earlier, I've had one of those. They were really, really nice. Had access to the spa anytime I wanted. As a matter of fact, there's a private elevator. When they say you have private access to the spa, on that deck next to the balconies, there's an elevator that is only accessible by your cabins, and you go on that, it takes you right up to the spa, right where you need to be. So those are really nice. Again, all of the spa amenities are included. And when I say amenities included, the spa includes all of those things except if you get a haircut or you get a massage, you get a pedicure, you get your nails done. Those are extra charges. When I talk about the spa, I mean the Thalasso mineral pool, the thermal chairs, the steam rooms, the rainforest showers, all of those things are included. But the extra salon type services, teeth whitening, facials, all that stuff is going to cost you extra. That's not included in
Anything
the
more
price.
hands-on, pretty much.
Right. So then you have your premium balcony, and the premium balcony is an oversized cabin with an extra large balcony. So it's still going to be the same type of balcony cabin, but the cabin itself is a little bigger and the balcony itself is a little bigger. The next one is called a balcony with a large balcony. So beautiful, a nice regular sized cabin, but with an extra wide balconies. So the balcony is actually wider than the normal balconies, still on the either side of the ship, but extra large balcony. Next, one of my probably these last two are my two favorite balconies. You have the aft view extended balcony. So the aft view extended balcony is if you look at the very back of the ship on the aft, there's these rows that go across. And if you've never been on a cruise before, you're wondering, I wonder what those are. Those are balconies. So they look out directly at the back of the ship, and they're wider and longer than a normal balcony, and they face directly to the back of the ship. So you're on Lido and you're hanging out at the aft pool, and the beautiful view of the ocean behind you, and the little waves from the engine from the ship. That's your view in your aft balcony, and again, they're bigger, and it's really cool too because the little partitions, like on Group Cruise 6th Annual CCPBF coming up, we have the entire Deck 7 aft taken over the aft balconies. So those cabins all open up to each other. The ones in the middle don't open because of the bulkhead, but all of these cabins connect to each other, like where you can open the doors to the balconies and you can have a big balcony party with all your friends. It's so much fun. And then they have the aft wrap balcony, which is actually called a premium vista balcony. So again, like like some of those cabins I was talking about that are forward, that have to be designed in a way that conforms to the design of the ship. So you have a whole row of aft balconies, and then the ship goes like this and like this, like in the shape of an L. Well, the premium vista balcony, you have not only your aft balcony, but then it goes along the side too and makes an L. So you have like two balconies, one that faces the aft and one that faces either side of the ship. So those are really cool. And also those cabins are a little bit bigger too. Those are the largest balconies that you'll have available. Well, not the largest, other than the suites, but of the standard balcony cabins, those are the largest.
So
And
how
then
much larger are the balconies on the suites versus some of the other ones that we would normally get with this?
That's the last category we'll get to is the suite cabins. You have your ocean suite, which the cabins themselves, they have more space and a larger balcony. The ocean suites, all the suites come with a VIP check-in, walk-in closets, and a bathroom with a whirlpool tub, which is really nice. I've never been in a suite before. I would really like that because in all of the other cabins, you have a shower and that's it. Ladies, you can feel me, right? It's hard to shave your legs in those showers. I found that if you kind of open the shower curtain a little bit and put your toes just on the side of the toilet a little bit, it makes it a little easier. But I mean, it's nice to have, be able to kind of sit on the ledge or something to shave your legs. So I would really like to have one of those.
Do all
That's the
suites
ocean
have
suite.
balconies?
Yes, they do. All of the ocean suites have larger balconies, larger cabins. They have, and they come with the VIP check-in, which would be like if you are platinum or diamond and you're the first on the ship, or if you purchase faster to the fun. So they come with the VIP boarding, a walk-in closet, and a bathroom with a whirlpool tub. The next one, again, is your Cloud 9 Spa Suite. Again, it comes with all of your Cloud 9 amenities. It's a standard suite with a large room and a balcony, again, with the whirlpool bathtub and a closet. The last one, it's going to be your most expensive cabin on the ships. That's going to be your Grand Suite. So a Grand Suite features even more space. So this is a huge cabin with a huge balcony, VIP check-in, and in addition to the whirlpool bathtub, the walk-in closet, it also has a dressing area and a vanity. So that's going to be your top. That's your penthouse. That's your presidential suite. That's your big deal. If you've got the money to book it, book it. I've never been in a suite yet. I'm hoping one of these days I could get one, but I never have yet. So I've really enjoyed and been blessed with the fact that I've been on a lot of different ships. I've tried a lot of different cabins, from interior to aft wrap balconies. I've been on all of those. Out of all of them, I love the aft balconies. I love being able to look out at the back of the ship. I love that it's a bigger balcony. I guess the only complaint was there's certain times of the day when there's no shade at all on your balcony, because you're at the back, the sun is just beating down in on you, you know. So, but usually that time of day I'm out partying or drinking anyway, so it doesn't really bother me any. So, but I've been really, really fortunate. I've tried a lot of different cabins. I've done about just all. I can't wait for my scenic ocean view though. That's coming up on Diva Cruise 5 coming up. I can't wait for that one. That's going to be fun.
Well, thanks, Shally, for coming on and giving us all your insights about all the different types of suites and other cabin types. So our cruise show and all the wonderful abilities we have to bring in guests remotely would not be possible at the level we do without vMix. vMix is a live production software that powers our live show and many other high-end productions, from church services to football games. More and more live productions run on vMix. What our producer Bird really liked when he was trying to improve our show was that they give you a full 60-day trial of everything. That way you can test it out risk-free before you buy for 2 full months. Then they have systems starting from just $350 up to $1,500 depending on your production requirements. If you can do any sort of serious live stream, you need to try vMix. Try it free at vmix.com today. Chris is still at home, but only has 3 weeks before he is back on the Carnival Dream. So in today's segment, we take a look at how a cruise director starts to prep for getting back on into the crazy busy ship life after 2 months at home.
So I'm going to keep going this week. I'm going to go like 4 times in the week, just to keep getting I felt my stamina getting better, don't get me wrong. Like, I wasn't losing breath as much, but it's hard. So I decided I'm going to walk home. Well, I say walk home. I'm going to walk to the point where there's a massive hill that I need to walk up, and Kimberly's going to come and pick me up. Love you. But yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, that was a full-on experience. Even holding up this, my phone, my camera, my arm's killing me. I'm such a wuss.
Thanks for watching Life of a Cruise Director, and if you want to see that full vlog series every single week, you can join us here in the subscription. Don't forget to subscribe to Facebook as well, Flying Scotsman CD, and I'll see you soon. Keep watching CruiseWeekTV.
There was a slight issue with that where it only got from the middle portion of the video, so we will re-upload that later on if you guys want to watch the full experience of the video. We apologize for inconvenience for you guys. Anyway, science segment. For those cruisers who have been with us for a while, they should know I love trying food, drinking, and hot sauce. Tonight's segment, I want to go over the science of hot sauce and name some islands where you should grab some while you're there. Let's go over the basic ingredients first. Many recipes for hot sauce exist, but the only common ingredient, and some variety or other, is chili peppers. Many hot sauces are made by using chili peppers as a base, and they could be as simple as adding salt and vinegar, while other sauces use some type of fruits, vegetables, or add different base and add the chili peppers to make them hot. Manufacturers use many different processes, from aging in containers to pureeing and then cooking the ingredients to achieve a desired flavor. Because of their ratings on the Scoville scale, ghost pepper and habanero peppers are used to make the hotter sauces, but additional ingredients are used to add extra heat, such as pure capsaicin extract and mustard oil. Common ingredients include vinegar and spices. Vinegar is used primarily as a natural preservative, but flavored vinegars can be used to alter the flavor. Spiciness is rated by Scoville, which ranges from 0 to 2.48 million. A sweet pepper that contains no capsaicin at all has a Scoville rating of 0, which is no heat detectable, even undiluted. The current hottest pepper reported and number 1 in the record books is the Dragon's Breath chili pepper, developed in St. Asaph, Wales, in association with the Nottingham Trent University. It has been tested at 2.48 million Scoville. If you eat this, you will probably die. Don't recommend it. But rest assured, someone is already working on something even hotter than the Dragon's Breath pepper. When I went on my first cruise, we stopped at Belize, and their hot sauces are usually extremely hot, and they use habaneros, carrots, and onions as primarily ingredients. Marie Shark's is a popular brand of hot sauce produced in Dengriga. They made several types, which one of them was the Beware, and it was absolutely amazing. It had a good heat level, but it also had different flavors that compiled on top of it. And I used it in a lot of my cooking, and I think I went through about 3 bottles in a week or so. Howler Monkey Sauce makes a traditional Panamanian hot sauce recipe called Aji around in the Carnival Valor, and he came across the new Build-A-Bear program. Of course, as he has kids, and he just had to find out a little bit more about it. That looked really fun. I always like the Build-A-Bear stuff, and we've been on a couple different ships where they showed that as well. So if you guys see them on there and you have kids, it might be a fun little activity to do with them. Anyways, guys, that brings another show to a close. If you know someone who will enjoy watching the show as much as you, be nice and share the link to their Facebook wall so they too can enjoy it. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just doing that alone really helps our show, and also subscribe to our Facebook pages. And guys, if you do that, you can also be entered to win in future giveaways, which we've already done 2 of so far. Plus, you guys get to enter into some of the amazing swag that we've had, and you've even seen some of the people and some of the gifts that they got, and they've been pretty cool. Anyways, thanks for our support from the RC's Periscope through Kathy and Ken Jarvis. Joe is back next week to cover Royal Caribbean Cruises. Don't forget, you can see all of our past live shows as well on the ship, and interviews and much more on our website at CruiseWeek.tv. Also, you can catch Producer Bird and myself Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our midweek social show on Facebook. Till next time, I'm Matt, and we'll see you on the ships.